Hey everyone! As fellow hospital administrators, we all know the absolute headache of staring down our 2026 capital budgets. And let's be honest, negotiating with these massive tech vendors doesn't exactly make it any easier, right? Well, you're in the right place. Today we're going to dive right into this strategic explainer covering the top 10 medical device companies shaping the future of our facilities. These are the absolute giants dominating global healthcare innovation, and understanding where they're headed is literally essential for our own strategic planning.
So the big question we're tackling today is this: how are these top MedTech giants actually going to reshape our hospitals by 2026? We really need to unpack this to understand exactly where we should be directing our capital investments for the highest clinical impact. Because, we aren't just buying standalone equipment anymore. We are investing in massive technological ecosystems that are going to define our patient outcomes, our operational efficiency, and, of course, our bottom line for the next decade.
Here's a quick look at our agenda. We're covering the 2026 MedTech landscape, the robotic surgery revolution, diagnostics and imaging leaders, specialized care and supplies, and finally, future hospital procurement strategies.
Okay, Section 1, the 2026 MedTech landscape, a global view. Let's start with a macro perspective on the market-leading companies driving all this global healthcare innovation.
When we map out where these top 10 players actually live, it's pretty eye-opening. We see a massively heavy supply chain concentration right here in the United States, hosting 7 of these giants. The other 3? They're based over in Europe, specifically Ireland, Germany, and the Netherlands. For us administrators, this geographic footprint isn't just trivia. It's a critical factor when we're forecasting supply chain resilience, dealing with international trade regulations, and locking in those long-term vendor partnerships.
Moving right along to Section 2, the robotic surgery revolution. Outfitting the OR. Let's talk about the most capital-intensive sector we manage, and the tech that's completely redefining minimally invasive care.
When we're evaluating operating room infrastructure, we are heavily tracking 2 distinct powerhouses. First, Johnson & Johnson MedTech out of New Brunswick, bringing massive weight in orthopedics and biosurgery. And on the flip side, out of Sunnyvale, you've got Intuitive Surgical. They are the undisputed pioneers of robotic-assisted surgery. Their historical influence on how we design our ORs and staff our surgical teams absolutely cannot be overstated.
Okay, this is where the rubber really meets the road for us, comparing the surgical innovation impacts and outcomes across the 3 major platforms. Intuitive's famous Da Vinci system is still the absolute gold standard for minimally invasive soft tissue surgery, drastically cutting down patient recovery times and length of stays. Meanwhile, J&J is pushing hard, aggressively prepping the rollout of their Ottava system, which aims to seamlessly integrate with their huge biosurgery portfolio. And then we have Stryker's Mako robotic arm. This thing is laser-focused on joint replacements, delivering incredibly precise orthopedic outcomes that are actively reducing revision surgeries. Balancing the specific clinical outcomes of these 3 systems is the ultimate budgetary puzzle for OR directors today. It for sure keeps me up at night.
Zeroing in on Stryker for a second, headquartered in Kalamazoo, their approach is just fascinating. They aren't just selling you a single robot. They are selling a comprehensive ecosystem of medical equipment and orthopedic implants, all driven by that Mako arm. Because of those highly targeted outcomes in joint replacement, Stryker has basically made themselves an unavoidable pillar in orthopedic department planning. If your facility is a regional leader in joint care, this is almost certainly where your capital is flowing.
Section 3, Diagnostics and Imaging Leaders, the data engine. Because, let's be real, beyond the OR, our hospitals run entirely on data. From a procurement standpoint, we have to prioritize these specific technologies. It's way beyond just buying a standard MRI or CT scanner nowadays. We're looking at advanced ultrasound, robust lab diagnostics, and advanced therapy systems. But the real game changer here? It's the integration of AI-driven clinical monitoring. AI is literally the connective tissue that takes raw, dense imaging data and turns it into immediate, life-saving clinical insights for our physicians.
When we outfit our imaging suites, we are looking at a massive technological rivalry. On one side, you have the European heavyweight Germany's Siemens Healthineers, boasting an incredible portfolio of imaging and advanced therapies, especially after their huge integration of Varian. On the other side, Chicago-based GE Healthcare brings fierce competition in ultrasound and those crucial AI-driven monitoring systems we just talked about. Choosing between these 2 ecosystems essentially dictates the daily workflow of your entire radiology department.
And we certainly can't leave out Amsterdam's own Philips Healthcare. They secure their spot in the top 10 by anchoring a ton of crucial everyday hospital functions, mostly in patient monitoring and diagnostic imaging.
But where they carve out a truly specialized niche for us is in sleep and respiratory care. For all the intensive care administrators tuning in, Philips provides the continuous data monitoring that is quite literally keeping your patients safe through the night.
Section 4. Specialized care and supplies, the foundation. Let's transition away from the high-tech scanners and look at the essential supplies that literally keep the clinic doors open.
First, a quick refresher on a really vital concept for our vendor strategy, the pure play company. Unlike massive conglomerates that might be juggling consumer goods or pharma alongside their medical devices, a pure play firm is 100% focused. Their entire R&D budget is dedicated strictly to medical devices. That hyper-focus drives deep, rapid innovation, which brings us perfectly to the #1 player on our list.
Headquartered in Dublin, Medtronic holds the crown. They're the absolute largest pure-play medical device company in the world. They focus heavily on the complex, life-saving stuff: cardiac pacemakers, advanced neuromodulation, and specialized surgical tools. Because they are pure play, we know that when we partner with Medtronic, we're engaging with a vendor whose sole existence is dedicated to advancing this exact medical hardware.
Now, for specialized cardiovascular and metabolic interventions, our procurement teams are constantly balancing two massive U.S.-based innovators. Abbott Laboratories is absolutely crushing it in diabetes care, think Freestyle Libre, as well as structural heart devices. On the other side, Boston Scientific is a total juggernaut in minimally invasive interventional devices. If your hospital's building out a cath lab or an endoscopy suite, Boston Scientific stents and scopes are pretty much vital to your clinical success.
Look, amidst all this talk of robotics and AI, we cannot forget the absolute backbone of our facilities, Becton Dickinson & Company, or BD. Out of Franklin Lakes, they provide the essential supplies, specimen management, and medication delivery devices. You simply cannot perform a multi-million-dollar robotic surgery without the precise, everyday medication delivery tools provided by BD. They represent a massive and entirely necessary chunk of our operational procurement.
Section 5. Future Hospital Procurement Strategies. As we wrap up this explainer, let's synthesize all this market intelligence into an actionable game plan for 2026. The major strategic takeaway here is that siloed purchasing is dead, completely dead. Your capital allocation has to seamlessly integrate market-leading robotics from folks like Intuitive or Stryker with the advanced AI diagnostic engines of Siemens or GE, all while maintaining those vital daily supply chains with BD and Medtronic. It's a total ecosystem approach now. The administrators who actually win in 2026 will be the ones who treat these top companies not just as vendors, but as interconnected tech partners.
So I'll leave you with this critical question to chew on for your next board meeting. Is your facility just buying equipment, or are you strategically partnered to handle this massive 2026 shift in patient care? Get with your teams, evaluate those current vendor contracts, and start planning. Thank you so much for joining me today, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe at the end of the video.